Hi, my name is Mentally, and that is not a pen name. Let's talk about some books. This is Recent Reads 2. So, I'm filming this on the 19th of April. It's probably going to go up in about a week. Today's my mother's birthday. Say hi to her. And happy birthday. I'm sure she would love that. I have 5 books to talk to you about. I was meaning to film this a couple of days ago, but you know what? I wanted to finish the last book, and I finally did that today. So, first of all, let me play the spoiler warning that my dad has.
We don't care.
At all.
So, Wash dies, the Titanic sinks, Godzilla gets killed, and just for you today, Voldemort kills Harry.
So, if that didn't clear things up, I don't really care about spoilers. I know that a lot of people care about spoilers, so part of the reviews are going to be spoiler free and part of them are going to have spoilers in them, and I'm going to try and make it very obvious when there are spoilers. And I'm also going to put timestamps in the description for if you want to skip past the spoiler version. The first book I finished was The Toll by Neal Shusterman, and I actually found a little talk about it right after I finished reading it. So let me play that clip here. Okay, I look rough, and I know that, and it's because I just finished reading this book right here, and I stayed up all night to do it. Like, literally, I was right here. You can see where my bookmark is. And I finished it on the audiobook version. And, oh my gosh, was this book a ride. First of all, with no spoilers, this is The Toll by Neal Shusterman. It's the 3rd book in the Ark of the Scythe trilogy. The Toll continues the story of Citra Terra Nova and Rowan Damish from the first book in the series, Scythe, and the 2nd book. It also continues with Grayson Tolliver's storyline from book 2, Thunderhead. And oh my gosh, my thoughts on this. I'm gonna have to go into spoilers because I don't know if I can talk about this. First of all, timeline being so back and forth and not really sure what's going on, and how like the scripture of the Toll go, and you don't really know what's going on until you suddenly realize there's scriptures telling the tale of this Toll, and then something happens that happened in the scripture and you can see where it actually is and where it differs from like the commentary on it and the explanation of it. Oh my gosh, the timeline on this, I will say I was so confused and then I was so happy. It got me, it drew me in. I'm gloriously happy about it. Like I said, I just finished this, so I'm like, my heart's still beating hard. I screamed at the ending to Thunderhead. I literally screamed at it. And this book continued and finished off the series in such a satisfying way to me. From everything that happened with Grayson to everything that happened with Citra, or Anastasia, as she's known as for most of this book. I loved hearing about Scythe Faraday, and I want to call her Lorraine. That's not her name. Loriana. On the island. And the one storyline I wasn't quite happy with, and I honestly haven't been happy with his storylines since Scythe, was Rowan's. I just want more of him. He makes me happy. I loved how in Scythe you get to really like experience that dual thought process for lack of a better word that he has. I really love that about him. And then in both Thunderhead and in The Toll, he kind of seems like the afterthought. Citra really grows into herself in Thunderhead and The Toll, but Rowan is just kind of like, he's the same kid he's always been. And while that's okay, I want to see more of him and more of what he's doing. I was really kind of annoyed that, like, we saw him wake up, be captured, be nearly killed, and then be coerced into killing, and then be sent to Citra. And literally that's the only times we see him. We don't see him in situations where he has options. He's not making his own decisions. He's not going where he wants to go. We only see him in situations where he's being controlled until he gets to Citra. And while I will say that ending, I'm so happy. So happy. I wanted to see more of him than that. Same thing in Thunderhead with me. We saw him at the beginning doing some things of his own volition, but then he got captured and then he got taken to Endura, and it was just things. Anyway, I loved how the storylines of Goddard's mass gleanings really came together in this book. I love how it showed him becoming more and more insane of a despot as it went on. I'm not sold on Iron and Tiger, but like, I'm seriously sold on Rowan and Citra and on Grayson and Jericho, so I don't know what to say about that. Overall, my rating for this book is so hard because I gave the other books in the series 4 stars, which means I'll probably reread them, but I need to be in the right mood. This book is a 5-star book for me. This is a glorious book, but I know that anytime I want to reread this, I'll want to reread the other 2 books. So, I'm gonna give it a 5-star because I am so flabbergasted that I'm so satisfied by this ending. I don't feel that often. I haven't felt it for a while, but I'm so flabbergasted that this ending gave me everything that I was looking for, except for more time with Citra and Rowan. That this is a 5-star book for me. So, that's my thoughts on The Toll by Neal Shusterman. So as you heard, this is a 5-star book for me. I really enjoyed it. It's a great story. It's a great ending to the series, and I really enjoyed it. The next book I want to talk about is The Rest of the Story by Sarah Dessen. This book is about a girl named Emma Saylor. Her father has just gotten remarried, he's going on his honeymoon, and she needs a place to stay while he's on his honeymoon, so she ends up going to her mother's family's house for the 2 weeks that he's gone. And it's about her finding the rest of her story. I love how Sarah Dessen's books do that. I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoy Sarah Dessen as a whole. I read this book for the Owls Readathon because it's set on a coast, and I love the story, I love the characters. Let's get into some spoilers talk. Sarah Dessen's writing style is very unique and very intrinsically her way of introspective, thought-provoking writing. I think I heard the phrase quotable recently, and that's what I would say about Sarah Dessen's novels. Her writing style is very quotable, and that hasn't changed in this book. It's very internal monologuing and deep thoughts. her books don't really have much of a plot. It's sort of the plot of everyday life. In this one, I will say, I normally get kind of upset over the parents in Sarah Dessen books. Her father did anger me, but it's not the most angry I've ever been at a Sarah Dessen parent, so count that as you will. I really loved Emma. I really loved Rue. I liked her family. I was drawn in. I read this in one sitting. I went into it knowing that I would probably read it in one sitting, but it did not disappoint me. It's not my favorite Sarah Dessen book. It's not the top tier, but it's the tier after that. It's really good. I know I'll reread it. This is a 4 out of 5 stars for me. I know that I'll reread it. I love Sarah Dessen's books, and I just enjoyed this one. The next 3 books I have to talk about that I finished are the first 3 books in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. The first one of those is Dark Lover by J.R. Ward. Dark Lover follows the story of Wrath, who is a vampire king, and Beth, who thinks she's a human. She's actually a long-lost vampire. She's about to go through a transition, and because her vampire father is good friends with Wrath, Wrath agrees to help her get through her transition. This is a series of romance novels. I specifically started reading them because I just wanted an audiobook to listen to while I did other things. I first heard about the series from Peace Love Books on YouTube, which I've been watching a lot of her videos recently, and she talks about the Black Dagger Brotherhood series quite a bit. So I wanted to check it out. I'm the kind of person who this kind of series I normally like quite a bit. So imagine my shock when I didn't really like this one. Let's get into some spoilers and go over this. First of all, I loved Wrath as a character. I loved Beth as a character, and I love them together. I have some pretty big issues with how instant love it was, because it wasn't explained. It was just they see each other and that's that. And there's not really like a theme of soulmates. They get bonded to each other, but like it's not like the impressions that like happen in Twilight. If you guys remember that, like it's not the see you, love you, instant kind of a thing. It's very much instant attraction, and I didn't expect it. So I didn't really like that part of it. Once they got further into the relationship, past the instant part, and you could see the relationship forming, I was into it. It was lighthearted romance that I wanted. The second thing that really took me out of the story is how many POVs there was. Normally in a book like this we have 2 main characters' point of views, and that's basically it. And that's what I like. That keeps me in their story. That I know what I'm going into these stories for. I know I'm not looking for deep, epic tales surrounding them. I just want some romance. I just want them. So being dragged out of the story by 5 other point of views from different characters who weren't always even in the same league, like even thinking about the same things or watching the main characters or doing anything with the main characters, that drove me crazy. The last thing, I don't really like the ending. It's not that it was a bad ending. It seemed pretty instant. Oh, the big bad is defeated in one fell swoop, and suddenly everything's jolly. It was building up to it so much that I expected more than just that. And how it came to be. Like, Beth gets kidnapped and then the next 4 chapters or 4 point of views are not concerning Beth at all. It's just concerning everyone else in the story. And then, so you have to wait to find it out. And like, that will work if you build up the tension of she's gone. But I'm just sitting there going, I was just sitting there and I was not impressed. And I was like, this is kind of boring because the tension's not there. If the tension was there, it would have been a great ending. I would have loved it. Fantastic. Happy ever after. We're cool with happy ever afters. That's why I read this kind of novel. I don't need it to be that deep. So those are my thoughts on book 1. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not that impressed with it. It wasn't a bad read. I enjoyed myself while reading it. If I get into a very specific mood, I'll go back and reread this book. But that's it. So that's a 3-star for me. The next book is the second book in the series, Lover Eternal. Lover Eternal is about Rage, who is another member of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. He was cursed, and now every time he lets his emotions get in control of him, he turns into a dragon. Yeah. His love interest is Mary. She's a human. She has leukemia. And they get together. Rage really calms down around her. This is their love story. It very much felt like a Beauty and the Beast tale. I will say that. And as someone who absolutely adores retellings, I'm cool with that. I'm pretty cool with that. I did like this better than Dark Lover, but I did not like the characters better. I liked Wrath and Beth in Dark Lover better than I liked Rage and Mary in Lover Eternal. Let's go into some spoilers. I hated the POVs again. There were so many of them. A lot of them didn't matter. This book did do better at keeping the POVs kind of centered around that central relationship. There were still too many of them. This also didn't really have a big bad guy in it. I was really drawn out of the story by the setups for future stories, if that makes any sense. Some of the point of views, instead of focusing on the main story, were setting up for future stories. And my feelings are mixed because the third book is the character that I was really looking forward to learning about. But the fact that half of that book was set up by things that happened in this book bothered me. Going on, there wasn't a lot of growth that happened between Rage and Mary. I really liked seeing their relationship grow, and that's where the author did really well. There was still some instant love, but much less than there was with Rage and Beth. And I liked watching Mary get more in tune with Rage as the story went on. However, the Beast was very much a trope. He basically came out to be kitten around Mary, and that was about it. It wasn't a big plot point. It was made into more of a thing than it actually was. And the big bad that happened in this was very much setting up for the next book. So that's where we are with that one. I was kind of disappointed by Rage and Mary's story ending, just by the fact of how it worked out. I was ready for it to be a Nicholas Sparks type ending, and instead it was basic romance type ending, and that was not what it was leading up to the entire book. So I was kind of disappointed with the ending. Again, I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. If I read Dark Lover, I'll reread this one. Besides that, but let's move on to the third book I read in this series, which is Lover Awakened. This is the one that I was looking forward to. Once I read about this character in Dark Lover, I wanted to know more, and that is Zadist. This is the story of Zadist and Bella. I will admit I like kidnap rescue kind of stories, especially in romances. I really like reading about it. I think it's adorable. And Zadist is such a fascinating character to me. This book is about Zadist rescuing Bella and coming to terms with her loving him and him feeling like he doesn't deserve to be loved. So, of the 3 books that I've read in the series, this one is definitely my favorite of them. I like Zadist better than Rage. I like him better than Wrath. I like Bella better than I like Beth or Mary. I just like the characters more, and I like the storyline more. I think that the way the author delves deep into Zadist's past and his issues is great. Let's go into spoilers so I can talk a little bit more in depth about it. Let's mention the POVs. All I want in this book is Zadist and Bella. And there was a time in this book when between every Zadist or Bella chapter, there was a John chapter, and I started screaming. I literally, after the 5th time it happened, I went, I don't care. I don't care about John. Where's Zadist? Where's Bella? Why do I have to care about John right now? Because I didn't. And yet half this book was about John. I only care about Bella and Zadist. Why do I care about John? Let me tell you why. I don't. But Bella and Zadist are so cute. I read the entire book. I nearly quit after I screamed that I don't like John, after the next time that happened, after the next time, and after the next time. It happened a lot in this book. Half this book was not Zadist or Bella, and I hated that. But when it was Zadist and Bella, their relationship was gorgeous. I loved it. And you know what? The ending is great. I loved it. Did I need anyone else? No. They can be dealt with in their own books. Maybe give them a chapter. But every other chapter being John, I nearly killed something. Zadist in this entire book is struggling with feeling unclean and feeling like he doesn't deserve to be loved because of his past as a blood slave and his abuse. And even though I hated all of the Johns, I loved the counterpoint in John's story about how he had been abused versus Zadist's basically his entire childhood of abuse. And the dichotomy between the two of them trying to figure out how they were still worthy after being abused like that. That was really great. I liked how the author took it. I loved Zadist's redemption arc. I really did. I loved Bella and how she treated him and how empathetic she was to his issues and how not willing to keep with his crap she was. I really liked them and their story. I needed about 4,000 times more them. We got a lot of her brother. We got a lot of his brother. We got a lot of John. We got a lot of everyone. And this book I wanted to be about Zadist and Bella. And it was half about them. And because of that, I don't know if I want to continue the series. No spoilers anymore. This was a 3 out of 5 stars for me. Same as the last two. It could have been much better. For all of the reasons that I've stated before. I was waiting to film this until I finished that book because I knew that this book would be the one to decide whether I continued on with the series or not, and I don't think I am. I was really disappointed with Zadist and Bella's book, and it could have been the best book for me. And I was disappointed in it. I was really upset about a lot of things about it. And I don't care enough about the other characters to continue on with reading the series. And I hate that. Because if this book had been more about the main characters, I would have adored it. I would have loved it. But it wasn't. So I don't know where I'm left with that. I'm disappointed. That's where I am. Still a 3 out of 5 stars. And I will tell you that's because of Bella and Zadist and not because of anyone else. So those are the 5 books I've read in the past week. I am currently still reading Six of Crows. I haven't gotten any farther in it. I will admit that. I'm not that interested in it right now. There's been other things that I've wanted to read more, so I haven't been pressuring myself. And that's okay. I do plan to start A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kemmerer soon. And the first 3 books of the Harry Potter series are actually in my Owl's Readathon books to read. I'll probably pick those up at some point in the next week. We'll see how far I get. I really hope to finish the Owl's Readathon strong, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to pick those up and finish them out in the next week. So, tell me what you're reading, and I hope you're having a great day. Bye!